actually use email encryption in building trust with our different customers. So we're going to jump right in, but first let me introduce Cypherdog. Right, a lot of people will have the question about what Cypherdog is, who we are, and what we are doing. So basically, Cypherdog is a cybersecurity company that produces a protection or cipher encryption software where we use it to encrypt our emails. So basically, it's a one-click complete protection software that keeps you safe, encrypt your emails and decrypt any text file regardless of the size or format. So basically, you can check out Cypherdog at cypherdog, and basically Cypherdog on Twitter and YouTube and any other social media platforms. So that's just a short introduction of about Cypherdog. And yes, let us hear a bit introduction about you, my friend, as well. So please, can you introduce yourself to the wonderful people listening today?
Hi, my name is Oluwafemi Akinyomi, and I am an IT and cybersecurity analyst. I have a couple of years in the IT space, and I have worked with a few companies, and I also manage tech platforms. For example, I am one of the stakeholders of Tech Expo Africa and Talk Tech Nigeria, over 19,000 members. I'm currently the IT and cybersecurity officer for a commodity trading firm here in Nigeria. And I have had background in engineering and background in IT. So being able to fuse both worlds together, I can understand IT from the engineering perspective and IT from either the governance or from the innovation aspects and how it relates with organizational goals. So basically, uh, that's that for about me. I have more elaborate introduction, but I think
Yeah,
that's the basic for now.
yeah, okay, because a person of your caliber, we can go on and on and on about your achievement. Hi Terry, I can see you in the comment section, and hi Kat, hi Emmanuel, and everybody attending. Wonderful to have you all join us today. So yeah, let's go ahead and start. Let's talk about email encryption and how we can use it to build trust with our customers. Because we see in the world we are living today, it looks like every year cyber threats and cyber insecurity is increasing all over the world, all over different businesses, not just big businesses, but small, medium businesses, and actually large businesses are vulnerable to these cyber attacks. Confidential information between customers and the business, or customers and organizations, are being leaked out everywhere every day because of these attackers. So let's talk about keeping this safe. Customers want to feel safe, right? Customers want to feel that their data is actually safe. We do not want a situation where data from customers, as we have heard about in the going around, being leaked and selling it off to other brands and so on. So today, this is what we are going to talk about, and we are going to track this topic to the end and see how we can educate ourselves and everybody here on how you can build your trust with your customers using email encryption. So first thing first, Olu, what are some misconception or myths about email encryption that businesses should be aware of? Because I know there are a lot. So can you just tell us some?
Okay, I would say in my experience, I'm just going to, take it from my experience in the IT space.
Mhm.
Whenever you bring up an IT product or service, as the case may be, the first misconception is this for me? Is it, do I have what is worth protecting?
Mhm.
So some people believe that, okay, maybe this thing is for Microsoft. So they have the money, they have something to protect, But me, I'm just one, small business of
Yeah.
maybe 2 employees. So misconception comes from I am not big enough to have this kind of product. I'm not having the skill enough to
Mhm.
adopt this kind of solution. And some will say, "Oh, our processes are so cumbersome already. Having encryption would slow our process." So they believe that encryption is something that there's going to be stop, play, stop, play, stop, play. So
Yeah.
it adds to the overall bureaucracy of whatever they already have. And
Mhm.
some believe that the information they have in the organization is not worth protecting. We do not have, we are not that important. What we share is not important. But most times in cybersecurity, we say sometimes you are not the recipient of the attack, you are the conduit of the attack. So while you are protecting your information, you also have to protect the information linked to your organization, either you are a B2C or you are a B2B. And I think the last one would be the complication of implementing email encryption. So when you use the word encryption, it looks like a very, very big word. So when I want to explain it to my colleagues at work, I'll say email protection because the word is the word is less cumbersome when you say encryption. And when you tell an organization, I am implementing or I am suggesting, I'm recommending an email encryption for you, they believe that this thing sounds expensive and it sounds technical. So they don't want to delve into it. So I believe those are the fundamental myth around email encryption in my experience.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Lulu. And I think Terry has a question, but Terry, we are coming to that place. We are going to take a few questions to the speaker, and then we are going to handle your question. So thank you. You're so excited. I love the energy. So talking about, I really love how you broke that down, especially when you talk about small businesses being nonchalant about the data that they are protecting, not thinking that, okay, that data are not important. These things are for bigger brands. That is one of the biggest myths there, that okay, this is for big companies and this is not for us. And also, yes, that is very important. That word encryption, when we hear encryption, it feels like something very cumbersome, a process that is very difficult. So I think sometimes we have to learn. They say we learn from the experiences of others, right? So can you share some real world examples of businesses that have experienced the negative consequences of not using email encryption?
Okay. Most of the time, so when I am in conversations of things like this, because for every IT person, you also stand to be a technical business analyst, one way or
Yeah,
the other, because you must be at the middle of explaining the complex to the most simplest person in the room.
yeah,
Now,
exactly.
the biggest things organizations take serious is when somebody in their own line of work has experienced the negative impacts of maybe a data breach. Now, I think for me, one of the biggest was still that of Equifax in 2017. You know, I think they lost over 100 million information. I would say lost because these information were pretty exposed, and the breach caused a vulnerability in the company's website. That breach allowed hackers to begin to harvest and to access unencrypted email addresses, because the email
Mhm.
addresses a lot of people think of the envelope, but they don't think of the letter. So a lot of time people believe that the letter inside is not as important as the envelope itself. So Equifax of 2017, I would say, is one of the biggest, because that has to do with a major credit agency or a credit reporting agency. Now, I live in Nigeria, right? So we have examples in Nigeria as well, and even Africa. For example, there was this Jobberman data breach too of I think 2017 that had personal information of users, over 2 million users, information were leaked. And this contained, sensitive informations and all of that. And I think the biggest breaking of any organization is the health sector. We can remember the Stanford Hospital breach in 2011 in California. They were even fined $250,000 because it was discovered that the personal and medical information of nearly maybe over 20,000 patients
Yeah.
were sent through encrypted mail. Imagine when you send a lot of information, or let's just say all the information in your organization is in an Excel sheet, and you
To
attach that Excel sheet to
an email.
an email in transit. There is no how that if it is not encrypted, it is going to be intercepted or may be
Yeah.
intercepted by somebody that needs that information, maybe as a raw source of income or to prove
Yeah.
an ideology. So I think those are the biggest ones for me. Other data breaches, maybe Cambridge Analytica or Facebook, but those ones were not typically as a result of, should I say, unencrypted emails.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there because when you attach this information, and one of them, the biggest form is not only the losses of data and the threats you expose these customers to, but also the legal implications when you don't protect this customer data. One of the biggest fines, we've heard of big fines coming into companies or organizations and businesses that lost customer data, as you mentioned one above. So it's this goes to show the importance, especially in the world we are today, where information is, where cyber threats is becoming more and more alarming. While why it is important to have email encryption, especially to protect this customer data, not just the data of the businesses. Then this leads me to the next question, where there are some best practices for managing email encryption. Example, Cypherdog encryption software gives you an encryption keys that allow you access to the software, right? So what are the best practices for managing encryption keys to ensure the security of encrypted emails?
Okay, there are best practices based on how well you develop your technology, and there are best
Yeah.
practices based on the standards. For example, NIST standards, for example, or the Federal Information, Processing Standards 140-2. So, but I would say for the best practices, I would be looking at a company that has gone beyond maybe the 2048-bit encryption or the RSA 2048. Now, for example, I believe Cypherdog adopts the 3072, RSA 3072. And also, how do you manage these keys is one of the I think I had a conversation with a client, and the client gave an example and said, if I locked my house, I'm
Mhm.
still responsible for keeping the key to the house. So, what protects the key to the house? And that was a very important question. So,
Yes.
yeah, it's a very wise one. So, when you're looking at encryption keys and how to ensure that the security of that encrypted mail, we'll be looking at the use of strong passwords because some keys are linked to password management, obviously.
Yeah.
But of recent, we now have the vault system of keeping keys. So we call them the key management system, KMS. And this KMS is what must follow, at least if you're in the United States or you're in Canada or some other countries, there are guidelines to follow for you to even be approved, to have a KMS vote. And from moving this key from one place to the other, we'll always have a private key and we would have a public key. The public key would always be in motion, and that is where you must use services that have SSL in quotes. Now there's this new mantra for browsers that will not transmit sensitive information if an SSL is not installed on the browser. And
Yeah.
there are other things that are not password like or key management like. So we always say whatever the technology is, it is still dependent on governance. Governance means that if I have an organization and I say this is how this key should be processed, this is how this key should be transmitted, what are the policies that backs those instructions? So governance plays an important role in managing these keys, in managing email encryption. What are the controls in place? What are the policies in place that backs up this entire thing? And the list continue. The list goes on and on. Zero trust and key rotation. Limited access to keys by virtue of privileged access and all of that. So when we put all of this together, anything that that protects the keys, anything that protects the system, anything that protects the software in question must be looked at either from the policy angle, the standards, or from the governance.
Yeah, and what when it comes to protecting the encryption keys, as in Cypherdog encryption software, you have this process that when you create your encryption key, you can back it up to your system. And I love that examples you gave. When you lock your house, then who is in charge of protecting the house key?
Exactly.
That is wonderful. So now having this encryption key that gives you access, anytime you want to encrypt, back up your encryption keys, you have to make sure that where you are storing this encryption key for CypherDog software, you store it in a place that it's very safe, right? Where no one can have access to it. You are the person that will know that, okay, this is where I can put this stuff that no one else will have access to it. Or even if your PC have, someone comes directly to your PC, some store it in offline, drives, security drives that are offline. And basically when that's where some people store it, some store it in a secure vault, as you've mentioned, and all these steps people take. Now, are there any emerging, are there any emerging trends or technologies in email encryption, email encryption that businesses should be aware of?
Yes, so I mentioned the first one, which is before now. I think there was a time that the maximum security was an RSA 1024. And the more
Yeah.
computers and the more technology was going, we had to move to 2048, we moved to 3072, and we are also looking at 4096. Now all of this doesn't mean that they are not secure. At least for 3072, you have to have almost like a quantum computer to hack into anything that
Yeah.
has that amount of encryption. Now, but let me give you a statistics to tell you how important this is. Now, a lot of things came to our bearings or came to the scene after COVID, during COVID and post COVID. Now, a lot of companies saw the need of ensuring that their data is moved to the cloud. Because if you are running servers on your facility, that means that you have to do remote access to enable people
Yeah.
to ping back to the office. And now, from COVID down to this point, a lot of organizations are moving straight to the cloud. For example, my organization, we operate solely on the cloud. We have so many SaaS, related services and cloud-based solutions.
Yeah.
Now, looking at what happened in post-COVID, now the email encryption market, is valued at about 4.2 billion in 2021. Now, looking at from now till 2030, that market will be valued at about $24 billion. That means we have a lot of companies offering different innovations coming to the market. They are not reinventing the wheel, like I say. They are bringing modern way of integration,
Yeah.
user friendliness. They are bringing ease of integration. They are bringing ease of understanding, because some products I find it difficult, even as a tech person, you find it difficult to read their documentation, as basic as documentation is. Now, so the technologies is going to move from password kind of operation to newer methods, maybe biometric. Now we are having blockchain adoption of,
Yeah.
in quotes now, email encryption. We're also having AI based. We are in the AI race right now. So any company that is on these trends will literally be the high flyers from now to the year 2030. And the reason and I love that of Cypherdog is that I have looked at Cypherdog and its movement. Cypherdog is about 2018 down to this time, give and take. That should be about 8 years. And the movement of Cypherdog in this period, I'm really impressed with what you guys are doing at Cypherdog.
Yeah. Thank
Having
you.
to make this very easy. You know, I ran through the free version. I think that was last year, and I was really impressed. It made it simple. From a person I have been in the Microsoft ecosystem, where you literally have to do everything from the super admin point of view. It's just easy. Copy and paste this thing, and
And
it still gives the same seamlessness that
yeah.
other products give in the bigger products in the market. So I think any company on this trends of making it easy, one of the things I said were the myths of email encryption is how easy it is to understand and how easy it is to implement. If you can break the barrier between the technical people and the non-technical people, whereby a product can bring the two people in the same room and they still get to understand it, that product will be the high flyer of this decade.
Ye- Yeah, that's you are absolutely right there. Especially when it comes to people love things. No one loves stress, especially when it comes to using tools. And you have to make the user experience and the user interface so simple for anybody, even a non-technical person, to understand. Because some of these customers are not so don't have this technical knowledge of about how these things work. So they need something very simple with a simple interface that they can interact with. When you're talking about CypherDoc encryption, it's just as you said, you just copy and paste and click on encrypt, and that is all. You've had your encrypted form of the message, and you send it across to the person you're sending it to, and all they have to do is to click on decrypt, and that is done. So that is so simple for any person to use the CypherDog encryption software. And you talk about educating customers. So how can businesses, right? How can businesses educate their customers or their clients about the importance of email encryption? From somebody working with, in the IT world, you have a lot of clients that come in every day to consult and all of these. So how do you go about educating them, especially when it comes to email encryption and its impact on trust building?
Okay, I'll give some example, and where I currently manage in quotes now, it's a B2B. Now I'm
Okay.
going to give examples from the point of view of a B2B and a B2C. Now, a lot of times clients do not know the damage that a
Yeah.
breach does. A breach doesn't damage your product alone, it damages your reputation. And I think a lot of customers must understand that there is a place where your brand image is gone. So it's just like saying when you catch a thief, for example, let's use that example. When you catch a thief and eventually you let the thief go, right? And
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden the thief is caught again, but this time around the thief is innocent, right? It will take you a lot of courage to trust that that thief was not involved in that action. That is what
Yeah.
the damage to brand image does. Once your clients say, okay, there's what we call invoice hack. You send your invoice through the mail, unencrypted, and as that mail is going to your client, somebody intercepts the mail, alters the invoice, changes the account number and the account name, and your client goes ahead to pay the money to the wrong account. There is no how that when the client wants to send money the next time, they will not seek for a face-to-face conversation, because at that point it's going to be your word against theirs. They're
Yeah.
not going to trust your communication through emails anymore. So if you really want to build trust, the trust has to start with, are your processes, are your tools, are your infrastructure trustworthy enough?
Mm-hmm.
So number one is that, how do you educate clients? The first thing is that you have to break it down. You have to make them understand the meaning of the products. I think there was a product I bought one time and I couldn't decipher what I would use it for. When you buy a piece of equipment, a TV can be used to watch your Netflix, and a smart TV can also be used to, follow up whatever is happening on your system. You can split your screen to your TV. If you don't explain the use of or the importance of that tool, they are not going to buy into it, because you implementing it also needs the support of the person also receiving it, because there's going to be a decryption at their end as well. So you have to state the importance of that. Number two, a lot of clients are moved when they know that this is the government saying it. Some people don't believe you until you tell them that the government require us to do XYZ. They believe
Okay.
in compliance. So if you don't tell them that we are under the obligation to comply to XYZ rules, they may not understand. So if you are selling it to a company, and maybe I'm going to a company that has clients, so the client of my clients. So I go to the company and I tell them that, okay, see, even the fact that I won't explain the usefulness of this to you, it is required that you must have this in your arsenal. So
Yeah.
sometimes compliance helps them to adopt and to understand very fast. Number three is, this thing we are doing right now, this webinar, is also a way to explain whatever it is that email encryption is doing. So you can
Yeah.
organize free webinars, get people to come,
Mm-hmm.
invite influencers. Now, influencers do not mean that they have 2 million subscribers
On their
on
page.
Twitter. Yeah, it
Yeah.
means that they are authority in that field. It means that when they speak with a depth. For example, if you are inviting me to a program to speak on cybersecurity, I'm going to speak based on my depth and my experience. So I am an influencer in that area. When they say, oh, Femi is able to do this, Femi is adopting this, that means this must be pretty important for Femi to be using it. Now, the third is, I love companies that offer part of their products as free, because it allows the users to even test run and see if it is something they want to adopt. So you have to, I think, for example, Cypherdog offers first 14 days free. And after 14 days, you can still keep using the product, but as a decryption tool, which makes a lot of sense. And I think lastly, we can't rule out social media out of it. So right now, if you are pushing a product, you want to push it on Twitter, you want to push it on TikTok, and you want to use all available mediums because it depends on where your customers are. That was always my thinking before. But I realized that even bigger brands are going to the most inconspicuous social media handles to establish their presence there. So we could do a Facebook, you could do a Twitter, you could do campaigns, you could do competitions, and you could do product demos to get customers to really understand this. Now, I am saying customers because you might be targeting a B2C and you might be targeting a B2B. So in this case, a bigger business is your client, but then their client becomes your client's client. So it is very important that both the company adopting this technology and their own clients, it is easy for them to, understand and make it seamless for both parties.
Yeah, what I really love when you start explaining these things is the way you can put in stories. It
Yeah,
makes it
yeah, yeah.
it
Over
makes
time, I've loved to be a teacher. Over time, so I think at my workplace they will always say, if you want something explained, go and meet Femi. So I am the person they call to break it down to the most, you know, the most easy to
it's
use. There's a
influential.
day-to-day
Yeah,
use of technology that makes it easy for anybody
to
to
understand.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah, that is, I would say that is a wonderful, wonderful gift. And one thing, Premise Law, the general manager of Cypherdog, would always say, it would make this quote that goes that the consequences of not encrypting email content and attachment can be severe. Then it will go ahead to list some. It says it can result in loss of valuable and confidential information, damage and reputation to the brand, and loss of trust. And he always brings this one at the end: legal repercussions. I mean,
Yes,
legal
yes.
problems. That is one of the biggest damages because you can get sued. You could call yourself a small business, but you just lost the customer data, and that data, as you talked about, especially something like the receipt, sending money to the wrong, there was this story around, I think around 2021, where a brand sent out a mail, the mail was intercepted, and the details of the receipt was changed, just as you said exactly. And the other company ended up sending the money to the wrong address. I think it was during this COVID-19, the COVID-19 situation, where the other brand was the one selling the oxygen. So that was how everything was messed up because the email was intercepted. So it's not just limited to tech companies; it goes beyond. Right, it goes beyond tech companies to hospitals needs to encrypt their information. Schools, the data of your students. You go to even agriculture, and as long as you know that you are handling information, especially sensitive information of people, or sending confidential documents, sending sensitive documents on the email, because I don't think there's any business today that doesn't use email. There should be none. So it is very important to encrypt your email so that you can build trust with your customers. So before we go ahead to, before you go ahead to give us your last, speech, if I would put it that way, since we are wrapping up, can you answer this question by Terry? Terry had a question. He asked, can email encryption prevent email spoofing? That was the question from Terry.
Yes, it can. One of the key things, or should I say the fundamental or the foundation of any encryption or security platform is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And one of the problems of spoofing is the ability of the recipients to not get authentication from the sender. So, for example, a mail is in transit. Now, the biggest thing that spoofing does is that it tends to behave like somebody that you know. It tends to behave like something that you know. So that means at that point, if there is no authentication medium to say that this mail is from who I say it is, or this content is from, I talked about zero trust, right? Zero trust means that
Yes.
do not put everybody to scale from the people to the machine. Let there be a continuous authentication and authorization, at every given stage. Do not trust that this is from the MD. Do not trust that this is from the CTO. Let everything be put under the microscope. So if you have an email encryption medium, either integrated to your native solution or something like Cypherdog that is coming as browser extension, an app that you can install, it allows you to maintain the confidentiality of that mail and also the integrity of the content as well. So, yes, email encryption helps to prevent email spoofing by tackling the phishing aspect of it. You know, knowing fully well that some emails will target a certain area of an organization, will target the consumers, will target the C-suite executives, will target the should I say the company staffs. If you have those things in place, it allows your email to travel freely. And we're in the generation of everything is moving to cloud. That means
Mm-hmm.
there are several endpoints, there are several devices. People are now logging in from their iPad to their watch, from their watch to their phones, and even people now log in through their TVs in the sitting room. You'll be surprised that there is a staff in your organization right now logging in through his Android TV. These are things that you cannot even you cannot even comprehend that somebody will be doing this with our data.
Yeah.
So in the age of multiple endpoints, it is important to have all this security in place. If you don't, it's going to be a huge loss, especially if that person in question holds a key role in the organization, managing vital information, documents, and credentials as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. That basically, cuts everything down. I hope Terry, your question has been answered. Thank you so much for asking. So, for me, any last word from you to everybody listening?
Okay, yeah. So now, when you hear of email encryption or any technology, there's the few things that usually happens is that people love to fight change. And one of the first few things I do when introducing any solution is that I try to attack the fear of change and ensure that they get comfortable that we are in the age of where before, if I say Essien told me this, I am going to trust Essien with all my heart, right? Or Nisien, sorry, with all my heart. But now we have gotten to a point where there is a gain, there is a financial gain, there is an ideological move, and there are people that really want to cause damage to any organization. So tools are in place not because they are supposed to inconvenience the staff. That it is because you want to protect them. So I give this analogy each time I'm at work. I said something. I said there's a logging system. There's a log that is being kept for every activity that happens on our network. And I tell each staff, if this breach comes from your endpoints, it is not going to damage the company, it is going to damage your reputation as a staff. It means that at every given time, we will always be wary of your activity because you cost us this amount of damage. Now, secondly, Organizations need to understand that compliance is important. It is not about setting an email encryption system in place. It is to ensure that the staff understand that if XYZ information is to be sent between us and our clients, and this contains maybe any financial reporting or any bank accounts or anything that has to do with maybe an NPPI, a non-public private information, or a health um, or a health information, or any other thing that we termed as an asset to us, these things must be encrypted. So that means they know that if I am to send an email to the MD or sending an email to anybody outside of the organization, these are the compliance steps, these are the policies. Now, that is internal governance. Now, they also need to understand that there is external governance. The likes of GDPR means that we must adhere to XYZ for us to remain in business. So I think if you are able to explain the products, explain the steps of the product, and explain the fact that this is very important for our operations to be sustained over the next 10 years or the next 20 years, this has to be in place. This would really make the entire journey of implementing email encryption a very easy one. I think that's the basic I would say for now.
All right, Femi. Thank you for that. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Terry says thank you. You've answered his question so well. Thank you for that. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your final words. You can follow Femi on Twitter with the handle at greater heights underscore. And also, you can keep in touch with the development of what Cypherdog is doing in the cyber security industry by following us on Twitter at Cypherdog INC. And also, you can visit our website to test out our email encryption software. And basically, you can also, watch a few demo of the software on YouTube. And basically, you can join our Telegram community to, interact with fellow like-minded individuals in the cybersecurity space. And basically, keep in touch with us. If you have any question, you can also send, shoot me a DM on Twitter with the handle at _Big Joe. And also you can ask your question on our Telegram community. And if you have any problem, using the encryption software, do not hesitate to, reach out to me, reach out to Cypherdog through the Twitter, and we are going to help you, tackle the issue or the problem that you have. And also, thank you, Femi, for honoring us. Thank you for coming on board. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you for, sharing everything you know to us. I really love having you, and I really, really love listening to you. And again, I would always, I would not forget to commend you again on how you bring storytelling into cybersecurity.
Yes,
Wow.
I think so. Storytelling helps capture the journey of a product. If really you
Yes.
really want to sell a product, you have to capture the journey, and that journey has to be something that fits into me waking up, wearing my clothes, and just going out. It makes the journey easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Femi. I can see Ella. Thank you for jumping in. Emmanuel, thank you for coming. Gosha, Joseph, Kat, and Terry. I thank you all for listening in. I hope you enjoyed the session as I did, and catch you next time in another episode of the Firewall. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Femi.
Thank you very much. I do enjoy the rest of your day.